Now, another question about adaptations. As I said, adaptation is nothing but the changes in an organism to cope up with its surroundings, right? And how these changes can occur? These changes can occur morphologically, or what is called as structural changes. Morphological changes are nothing but the structural changes. Or it can be a physiological change. Physiological change means internal changes. It can be an internal change. And it can also be a behavioral change. Or means it is in the actions. The actions taken by a species to adapt. That is called behavioral adaptations. So, for example, the polar bears have fur, right? For protecting it from heat, as well as it will help to hide in the snow against the predators, right? So the fur in polar bear, it is a morphological adaptation to cope up with the environment it lives. And about the physical or internal adaptations, these kangaroo rats, they rarely drink water. How they can survive? They will oxidize their fat, and also they will be excreting concentrated urine. In those ways, it will save water and it will rarely drink water. So that is a physiological, or that is an internal adaptation of kangaroo rats. And about the behavioral adaptations, these migratory birds, why they migrate? Because their habitat or their ecosystem they originally belongs to get very cold in winter and they cannot survive that much cold. So what they do, they'll migrate to the areas where they can get warmer. So migration of birds is a behavioral adaptation. Hibernation can also be behavioral adaptation. Now go through the question. About the morphological adaptation, the example they given are desert plants with spines instead of leaves. Okay, what is this desert plants are called? They are called xerophytes. Plants which are growing in dry areas, xerophytes. They will be having very deep roots in order to absorb water, and they will be having thick stems, and instead of leaves, what they will be having? They will be having spines, right? And if they have leaves, what will be that leaves? They will be very thick and they will be having some wax coating, right? All these are called xerophytic adaptations, or the adaptations to survive on dry areas. So this is a morphological adaptation, that is correct. Having spines instead of leaves in desert or dry areas is a morphological or a structural adaptation, that is correct. And physiological adaptation, kangaroo rats meet water needs via fat oxidation, that is what is we discussed here. Physiological adaptation means they adjust internally. They will reduce their needs in order to adapt to the environment. Kangaroo rats will oxidize their fat and they will excrete concentrated urine in order to conserve water. That is a physiological or an internal adaptation. That is also correct. Now, behavioral adaptation. The example given is lizard basking in sun or moving to shade. Means when it is really cold, what these lizards will do? They will go to get sunlight, or they want to get warm. So they will get exposed to the sun. And when it feels really warm, what they will do? They will go to some shade. They will move to some shade areas. So that is a behavioral adaptation to adjust their body temperature. That's a behavioral adaptation. That is also correct. So all the three given are correct. I hope the topic of adaptation is clear for you. Moving on to the next question.